of the tunnel? Could the Maritimes be evolving into a high-tech mecca? Silicon Valley East tonight, live at 5, right after Oprah, here on ATV.
The battle for control of the McCain food empire threatens to tear the company apart. But when the dust finally settles, will the people of Florence be the ones who get frozen out in the French fry family feud? Tonight at 6.
Here tonight on Hanging with Mr. Cooper, here on ATV.
What's in a sign? A lot of controversy if it denies history and offends an entire race. We've got a sign of the times tonight, live at 5.
Now, from the ATV News Center at every city and town in the Maritimes, this is the ATV Evening News, live at 5.
Good evening. It is Thursday, September 16th. I'm Nancy Regan.
And I'm Paul Menier, and welcome to Live at 5.
We've got a full show ahead, including an exciting feature interview with two of Canada's absolutely finest riders, Graham Gibson and Margaret Atwood. They're a very famous riding couple in this country. They've both got new novels out, and we'll talk to them about them later on.
Looking forward to that, Nancy. And here's a look at some of the stories our ATV reporters are preparing for tonight's show.
I'm Fonz Jessom in a quiet residential neighborhood. I have a cellular phone and a portable police scanner, equipment needed to be a key player in the new organized crime. More on break-and-enter rings and how they work, coming up on Live at 5.
Stickers like this are appearing on more houses in our region as homeowners take a more high-tech approach to fighting crime. I'm Alex Vass in Moncton. More later on Live at 5.
I'm Dan Vio at the Atlantic Police Academy in Summerside, where this afternoon the cadets were learning how to catch the people who buy stolen property. I'll have more coming up on Live at 5.
I'm Dan McIntosh at Park Falls, Pictou County, where among these rocks 40 feet below us, a hiker has fallen and she lies unconscious. How will we rescue her? Who are we going to call? We'll find out later on Live at 5.
Also on the program tonight, the doctor is in. Live at 5's Dr. Stuart Cameron takes a close look at vitamins. Do the supplements you're taking make you healthier? And Yvonne Colbert makes one Maritimer happier tonight. Nancy Appleby will sleep easier because Yvonne is on her side. We've got the story later.
Okay, all of that and a lot more ahead on the Thursday edition of Live at 5. But first, as usual, we check in with Steve Murphy, who's preparing the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve.
Okay, Paul, good afternoon, everyone. There are new developments tonight in the Giselle Pelsman murder. Tonight on the ATV Evening News, an exclusive first-hand account of the events that may have led to her death from someone who witnessed them.
And the fear that came over her face was something that you would never imagine. I felt the fear for her. I could only imagine what she was feeling out there.
Shocking new evidence from this witness tonight in the news at 6 o'clock, along with charges in another unsolved maritime murder. Also on the program tonight, the police have made 20 arrests in a big drug bust in the Miramichi area. Raids conducted by 50 officers from the Mounties, Newcastle, Chatham, and Blackville departments, and the military. We have the story for you here at 6 o'clock. Also on the political trail today, the Audrey McLaughlin campaign is in the Maritimes, keeping a stiff upper lip, even as the polls show her trailing everybody except Mel Hertig in the National Party. We've got more campaign trailings on the ATV Evening News at 6 o'clock. Right now, it's time for our first fast look at the maritime weather forecast with meteorologist Richard Zarowski in the ATV Weather Center. Richard?
Thanks a lot, Stephen. Right now, we're counting on a frosty reception from the weather. Temperatures getting down to single-digit frigid tonight. Frost warning in effect in pretty much all inland areas of the map, so if you have something you don't want to get frozen, keep it inside, and I'll tell you all about it later on ATV's Live at 5. Now back to you, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Your forecast here at 5:30, and then at 6 o'clock, all the day's top stories, including a visit to the town the McCains built to see how folks are holding up as the French fry family feud heats up in court. And also tonight, a new reason, or a new theory anyway, behind the sinking of the Titanic. It's all here after Live at 5 with Nancy and Paul.
All right, thank you, Steve. First at 5 tonight, break-and-enters, or B&Es, as they're commonly known.
You know, break-and-enters were once a crime of opportunity. A thief saw a chance to make some quick cash and jumped at it. Well, Well, police say that is changing. Today, B&Es are often run by sophisticated, highly organized groups. As these groups become better organized, police have a tougher time catching them.
In a moment, we're going to look at some of the new high-tech ways of preventing break-and-enters and protecting your own home. But first, ATV's Fonz Jessom has been looking at how these groups operate. Fonz joins us now. Fonz?
Paul, Nancy, break-and-enters, I guess, could be called the new organized crime. And the scope of organization within some of these groups is frightening. Police say there are groups of thieves operating in neighborhoods throughout our region, and unfortunately they say these groups will continue to thrive as long as people are looking for a good deal on a great product.
For police, catching a thief in possession of stolen goods is the next best thing to catching one in the act. However, police say break-and-enter artists are becoming so well organized it is almost impossible to catch them with the goods unless they are still in the process of stealing them. In fact, police say organized groups of thieves can steal your VCR and have it in a new home in very little time.
It's very quick. They change hands several times in a very short period of time, and that makes it very hard to track it down. Of course, a lot of times we also have a problem with when we do searches is the numbers aren't recorded, or there's not some other way of marking goods is not being followed by the owners.
The keys to that speed are organization and numbers. B&Es are now being committed by groups of 5 or 6 criminals who know what they are doing.
They're very mobile today. We've got groups that we know travel the entire Maritimes. They'll go scout a place out, go back sometime later, and that makes it a little bit more difficult on the detachments across the area.
Before robbing a home, a member of one of these groups will case it, either by walking by or driving through a neighborhood. If a place appears deserted, a closer inspection is warranted. Thieves then try to find a buyer for what they suspect is inside. This side of the business is often run in a neighborhood tavern. Police say tough times make it easy for the groups because people offered a real deal on an item are more likely to take it. Reselling stolen goods reduces the amount of time a thief is in possession of them, making it harder for police. There are also items easy to dispose of.
Biggest items: VCRs, stereo components, cash, liquor, anything that's fairly easy to carry and can be sold easily, or they can make use of themselves right away.
Modern technology is also helping the groups. Even while members are on the inside cleaning out a house, a lookout is posted outside somewhere nearby with a small cellular phone like this and a police scanner like this one, listening to hear if police are in the neighborhood so he can warn his accomplices. Victims of these groups can tell how advanced they really are.
Actually, they've broken in twice in the last year and a half, and what they've done is they've cut the phone lines and sprayed the audible part of the alarm so that there's no sound made when the alarm goes off, and there's no call made to the security company, so they can break in without anybody actually realizing that they're breaking in.
While police say these are very organized groups, they emphasize they are separate groups, sort of like a bunch of small companies operating on their own, and that further taxes the limited police resources as they attempt to keep track of so many known criminals. Paul, Nancy?
Fonz, you ever been a victim of break-and-enter?
Fortunately, I have not.
Yeah, terrible feeling. Know people who have, and it's no fun at all. All right, thanks. That's Fonz Jessom in Halifax. No question, as Fonz has told us, that the break-in artists are becoming a little more sophisticated and organized. And if that's the case, we have to wonder, how are police combating this? We're going to look at that in a moment. But first, where it hurts the most in your home, Nance.
That's right, Paul. To prevent break-ins, homeowners are willing to spend money on state-of-the-art alarm systems these days. Maritimers to protect their homes now go beyond a deadbolt lock. Motion detectors, sirens, and lights are now the norm. ATV's Alex Vass is in Moncton. Alex, is an increase in crime the reason for the popularity of alarm systems?
No, not really, Nancy. What's happening here in the Moncton area, we talked to Moncton Police today, and they said the break-ins are about on par with last year, but what's happening is that the price of alarm systems is going down, and there's also now a personal need to feel secure, and that's what's driving sales. No homeowner can ever say they are immune to a break-in, and more than likely it will happen during the day when everyone has gone to work and school. Bob, are you installing more of these alarm systems in homes these days in the Moncton area?
We certainly are. There's quite an increase in the demand for them. And we find that because of the economy and because of the number of break-ins in the Moncton area, that, as a matter of fact, all over the Maritimes, that the demand for security alarms has increased.
Well, what do you have to install here then to make the alarm system effective?
First of all, you start with motion sensors around the building as much as possible to give the best coverage. These units will pick up motion inside the house.
Systems can be installed for less than $1,000, have cellular phone hookups to a center, and there are even remote alarm devices homeowners can carry.
Simply by pressing this button, a person can cause their home siren to ring.
An alarm system is not meant to catch the thief, but scare them off and reduce any further damage during a break-in. Another method is a sticker warning of an alarm system. It's proven that such stickers reduce break-ins by about 70%. Homeowners with alarm systems are reluctant to talk for fear of drawing attention to themselves and their home. But police say an alarm system won't guarantee that a house will never be robbed.
It's not the be-all and end-all. We've had residents broken into where the residence was alarmed, and the culprits have left in a matter of minutes, you know.
Now, buying an alarm system is just like anything else you're shopping for. Look around, shop for quality. That's important when buying an alarm system. The prices can range from a few $100s into the thousands, and that all depends on how elaborate a system you want. Nancy?
Alex, you mentioned the crime rate hasn't gone up there, but then why has the sale of alarms steadily increased?
Well, what's happening is it's all happening by word of mouth. Let's say there is a break-in in one neighborhood, just one break-in. That person may get an alarm system, feel a lot more secure, and then talk to their neighbors about it. And then all of a sudden you may have 2 or 3 other neighbors in that neighborhood buying an alarm system. It's a very personal feeling. Everybody wants to make sure that they feel secure, their home is secure, and that their family is safe.
All right. Thank you, Alex. ATV's Alex Bass in Moncton tonight. Paul.
Well, Nancy, if theft is a growing concern, and it appears that it is, it means the market for stolen goods is also growing. And catching the criminals doesn't just include the thieves. ATV's Dan Vio dropped into the Atlantic Police Academy today, where the cadets were finding out about how the law is changing to help them catch all the crooks.
Without line. Worth what? $350, $300? He was going to get it for $50, right? And it was brand new, not a scratch on it.
Ignorance used to be an excuse for possession of stolen property, but not any longer. As the police cadets here were finding out this afternoon, if you deliberately don't ask where that outrageously cheap new VCR or tape player came from, and you ought to have suspected it was stolen, you can be convicted of the crime of possessing stolen property.
My job mainly, Dan, here is to teach them the law as it relates to theft and, of course, any other criminal code offenses. The main criminal code offenses that they're going to be dealing with as they go out there as young police officers. Evidence that the accused had possession of stolen property. This can be brought into evidence.
There's another criminal code change that's helping police catch the recipients of the products of theft rings. Evidence of previous possession of stolen property within the last 12 months can now be introduced in court as evidence on a new charge. There are increasingly high-tech methods helping police investigate crime scenes, too.
We now have the DNA, which we didn't have before, which is a great thing as far as we're concerned. It's a positive means of identification, which we didn't have before. Fingerprints, as you know, were the only means of positive identification at one time. So that's quite a breakthrough. And there are other things, there are other ways of developing fingerprints that were unknown to me as a young investigator at one time.
With the grounding in basic investigation skills, the cadets here also get another critical element in cutting property crime. A solid base of encouraging community preventative action to stop the thieves before they start. In Summerside, Dan Vio, ATV News.
You know, something I've always found disturbing about break-and-enters is the fact that often if your house is broken into and they steal your TV, VCR, etc., once you replace it with your insurance money, 2 weeks, a month later, the same guys or people break in and steal it again, knowing that it's going to have been replaced.
Well, that's a...
Talk about violation.
That makes you feel doubly violated, I guess. I think for most people, it's just the fact that somebody's been in.
Oh.
You know, your home is your castle, and that's just a horrible, horrible feeling.
You're right.
But anyway, some high-tech solutions, perhaps, and as we saw from Dan Vio, looking at ways of battling it through law and education, keeping people informed. Speaking of education, you know, yesterday we were at the Atlantic Computer Show. Fascinating devices there. Kind of got my curiosity piqued in the whole high-tech thing. So in just a moment, we're going to take a look at some more high-tech here in the Maritimes.
So we're out there shooting at a specific problem with a bit of a jump on our competition to allow us to be able to get out there and provide it to them first in a market that's hungry for a solution.
Soccer was the game of the day for the phys ed class at the University of Moncton today. And it looks like they were working up a sweat.
That's got to be one of the tougher sports out there in the old cardiovascular. You got to be in great shape to play soccer.
An awful lot of running, and I guess those are a lot of phys ed teachers of the future. Well, with the horrendous setbacks sustained by the fishery and the exceedingly slow recovery from the recession, it's important to keep in mind that it's not all gloom and doom here in the Maritimes.
Yeah, in fact, Nancy, if you look carefully enough, you'll see that there are indeed a lot of people actively involved in pushing our maritime economy into the 21st century. In fact, I met some of those people at the Technology Innovation Center at One Research Drive, Dartmouth.
Hi. How you doing? Not too bad.
It has the feel of a trade show. This is actually the Innovation Center's showcase day, when tenants get together to show their wares to invited guests.
It's got a high center of gravity.
There are just over 20 businesses here, ranging from computer software to cold water survival.
We've been in existence for approximately 2 years. Myself and a partner, Wayne Betts, he's in the Gulf of Mexico right now. And we've been a tenant of the Innovation Center here for 4 months.
Subtronics International is representative of about half the businesses here, relatively new and small, and trying to find a way in the global economy. This is a 38,000 square foot incubator. Developed by the provincial and federal governments, it's a place for medium and high-tech businesses to get started.
We pay rent here the same as we do everybody else, and we're subjected to the taxes, the local municipal taxes and everything that goes on. But
So essentially the government's role is as a landlord that is benevolent to the technology industry, bringing people together to share ideas and maybe create better businesses.
That's right.
Make sure you drop in September 21 next year.
Today, the tenants were meeting to discuss yesterday's showcase, sharing ideas on how next year's show could be made better. They also gather occasionally to hear from legal and marketing experts. In many ways, this is like a finishing school, and there are other advantages to the incubator concept.
It gives us a prestige address. When you call somebody in Silicon Valley in California and say you're in a technology center and One Research Drive, you know, why? What's that? I said, well, it's a beautiful spot overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. And we perk up some ears that way.
We're in a technological revolution. It's almost impossible to keep up with the incredible and rapid developments, but it's important that we make the effort.
The Innovation Center here is a perfect example of that, because we have tenants here in the building of many different disciplines, and some of those tenants provide a good resource base for us, for our clients, where they're dealing with something that we don't specialize in, but we're able to take advantage of their services in order to fulfill our clients' needs.
Very interesting. Sirius is one of the exceptions. They've been in business, I think, for about 10 years. They're really starting to take off, though, in the last few years. And interesting, the Technology Center allows tenants to stay for 3 years. After that, you have to, as they say, graduate onto your own. But it's not like they're getting a government handout as such. You know, they do pay the rent, and it's just a very creative environment and atmosphere for high-tech industry.
Well, the address says a lot, doesn't it? One Research Drive. And it's great that you bring us a good news story like that. It's true, we focus so much on the bad news.
There are a lot of people in the Maritimes really on the cutting edge of technology, and you know, the future mass employers. I mean, they're all employing 2, 3, 4, 5 people at this stage, but somewhere down the road they're hoping that they'll be employing a lot more people, and I know for a fact that there are a couple of people in that building who are on the verge of becoming millionaires with their ideas.
And we'll tell you about it when it happens.
Yeah, we will.
All right.
Anyway, the old Toronto Blue Jays, I think that's, what, a whole bunch of millionaires all on one team, all wearing the same clothing. They are hoping to make it all the way to the World Series, and things are looking pretty good. We're going to give you some updates on that in a moment.
All right, and up next, it's a matter of life and death. We'll drop in on a rope rescue training session when Live at 5 returns.
We have received, you do gain quite a bit of confidence in your ability and the equipment that you're using.
Exactly what you'd expect to find in your toilet in the morning.
Oh,
yuck.
Man, are you
when
serious?
A Pennsylvania woman opened the lid yesterday, she found, yes, a 4-foot python. Oh, that's so disgusting.
Man.
Nobody knows how the slithery intruder got into the bowl. Police pulled it out and took it to a pet store.
Who would do such a thing?
We're not sure. Everyone was relieved to find out, though, that pythons are not poisonous. Even so, it was, you could say, a rude awakening.
Ugh. I know they can constrict your movements, that's for sure. They put the lock on you. Anyway, Toronto Blue Jays are moving along quite nicely. They're now 3 up on the Baltimore Orioles, 2.5 on the Yankees, right? You saw them here on ATV last night, right? That, oh, baby, did they ever pound out? Take a look at this. This is just one of 19 hits on the night, folks. Darnell Coles to right center. That scores John Olerud. 14-8 the final score. Jays up 2.5 on the Yanks. Baltimore now 3 behind. The Yankees are hosting Boston tonight. The Blue Jays are off. You see, they're traveling to Minnesota. So they are cooking along quite nicely. Too bad about the Expos, though. They fell back another game. The 5.5. Phillies won and the Expos lost, but there's still some time. Big series, of course, coming up on the weekend with the Phillies for the Expos. It's do or die for them, I think, at that point, eh?
Keep your fingers crossed.
We'll keep watching that for you.
All right. Well, picture this. A hiker has fallen 40 feet over a cliff and lies on a huge rock in the middle of a lagoon. How do you rescue her?
Well, that's the job of the Rope Rescue Unit at Scott Maritimes in Pictou County. And ATV's Dan McIntosh went out with the team today during one of their simulated rescues.
We have a casualty down in the ravine here, and what we have to do is set a line across, find anchor points across the gorge.
That's the training exercise today for members of the Scott Maritimes Rope Rescue Unit. Park Falls has a ragged, rocky landscape with lagoons and a constant roar of water. There are easier ways to get at the victim, but they want to practice the most difficult.
What we're doing here is simulating an incident that could perhaps occur 10 miles off the road and not such a developed area.
This is the first time the Rope Rescue Unit has practiced away from the Scott Maritimes Mill. So today's exercise presents a few new challenges to the team.
Just finding anchors for one. At the mill we have steel pipes, steel beams to tie off to. And here the, first things first is safety, and we have to find strong anchor points.
Tom Jameson leaves the cliff and travels 40 feet over the victim. Once on the rock, he checks her injuries.
On the orange rope.
Then she's loaded into a harness, and the two are raised up. Eventually, they're brought to the safety of the shore.
Okay. We're always nervous, but with the training that we have received, you do gain quite a bit of confidence in your ability and the equipment that you're using, so you get over your fear of heights.
It's a lot of fun to start with. Besides that, maybe somebody will be able to save somebody's life.
At Park Falls, Pictou County, Dan McIntosh, ATV News.
Interesting stuff, eh?
Yeah, boy, I don't know if I want to be hanging off one of those ropes.
No, you're right.
At the worst of times, let alone at the best of times.
Dan said even shooting it, he felt a little nervous, even when you know it's a simulation. Well, we have 3 anniversaries in our milestone file today. John and Frida Jones of Kings County, Nova Scotia are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary today. Fred, Dorothy, Sandra, Rick, and their children wish John and Frida all the best. Celebrating a diamond anniversary today, Holly and Estelle McEwen of Rollo Bay, Prince Edward Island. Congratulations extended to them from their family and many friends.
Also celebrating 60 years together today are Norman and Inez Lord of Leverville, New Brunswick. Best wishes from their 4 sons, 14 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. If today marks a special day in your life, congratulations from everyone here at Live at 5.
There's lots more to come in the second half of Live at 5 tonight, including Canadian authors Margaret Atwood and Graham Gibson. They'll join us here in the studio in just a couple of minutes.
And we've also got these stories still ahead.
I'm Yvonne Colbert on your side. Getting a good night's sleep can be tough when you're missing a good portion of your bedroom furniture. We'll have that story later on Live at 5.
But up next, the big chill. Richard Zarowski gives us the cold shoulder when Live at 5 continues.
The hinge is in on this side, the hinge is on this side.
For the exercise, could you put like the lettering in?
Yeah.
Hey, you're looking at Mr. Gray's grade 8 art class at Princess Elizabeth School in St. John, taking advantage of the lovely weather today to do a little sketching outside this morning. Oh, my favorite kind of class, when you could get outside of the building for a little while.
Oh,
now, of course, they were only sketching with those white and gray crayons because it was a mostly cloudy day. Richard Zarowski, will they have any reason to pull out the yellow crayons in short order?
Please.
Put me on the spot, why don't you? We have a cold front moving through the maritime regions. That's signaling temperatures on the downturn. We got a frost warning in effect for tonight, so you might want to keep the white pencils handy. But yes, indeed, the sunshine will be coming out, and that means the yellow pencil or crayon or whatever you're using will come in handy to show us all sorts of sunshine across the map, but that's not going to push the temperature up very much. So our flow has switched through from the southwest and off the open water to the northwest, and of course that signals very, very cool temperatures being brought in by an area of high pressure. The low moving off, the cold front moving down to the south, so of course that will keep the temperatures down. For tonight, we can expect to see something called radiational cooling. No blanket of cloud to keep the temperatures up, so they will be falling. Daytime highs stack up like this, anywhere between 12 and 16 or 17 degrees. Not too many places hit the 20-degree mark, if any. And you can see these are very, very cool daytime highs. And just a couple of nights ago, we had overnight lows that were warmer than these temperatures. On the marine front, still a little on the windy side, although the wind is diminishing as the center of the high gets a chance to move through. We're looking at waves 1 to 2 meters. Wind is out of the northwest at 15 to 20 knots, so things are not too bad out there at all. So onward and upward with the forecast. We do have a frost warning in effect. Anytime the temperature is forecast to be 5 degrees or less, there's a good chance of getting frost. You can see the temperatures in New Brunswick between 3 and 5 degrees. We're looking at temperatures hovering around 8 degrees in Prince Edward Island. Risk of frost all across the Maritimes. Frost warning in effect for most inland areas in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and Cape Breton Island. You can see the temperatures 4 to 5 to 8 degrees. It looks as though the south shore from Halifax, Dartmouth, right through Barrington Passage and Yarmouth will be hovering around 8 degrees. There can also be fog in the low-lying areas, but frost is what we're talking about with the clear skies for tonight. And then for tomorrow, we're looking at the flow starting to change. By the evening, you can see we start to shift through from the northwest to the southwest, so the weather picture is going to do a flip-flop. We're looking at the area of high pressure getting pushed out to the east, and that low-pressure disturbance, which is originating in the southern portions of the Great Lakes, by tomorrow evening gets a chance to start sliding along the eastern seaboard. We'll bring it with it by tomorrow evening additional amounts of cloud, and then we can expect to see a few scattered showers overnight, and that's going to be moving into Saturday and Sunday. And I'll be telling you about our weekend watch a little bit later on Live at 5. But for now, it looks as though this low-pressure disturbance is moving in. Now, first thing in the evening, around 7 or 8 o'clock, you can see the first amount of cloud starting to push in through the southwestern sections of New Brunswick and the southern areas of Nova Scotia. And we're looking at clear skies for most of the day. That means sunshine, but the temperatures will remain on the cool side. Then for tomorrow, we're looking at loads of sunshine all across the map, and as I said, by the evening, this disturbance gets a chance to move through. In New Brunswick, temperatures will be between 16 and 18 degrees. Looks like the warmest stuff will be from Fredericton right up to St. Leonard as we hover out to the east, anywhere from 15 to 17 degrees from Kensington through to Glace Bay, and then 18 to 19 degrees in Nova Scotia, with loads of sunshine right across the map. So the forecast is not too bad if you like cooler temperatures. So, Paul, keep your yellow crayon handy.
Always have it with me, Richard. Well, as you know, more and more people are trying to lead healthier lifestyles. Some people are turning to vitamin supplements as a way to make sure they're getting the necessary nutrients, but that practice may be dangerous. The Food and Drug Administration in the United States has recently labeled vitamin supplements worthless and even life-threatening. Many dietitians here in the Maritimes seem to agree. ATV's Dr. Stuart Cameron has this update.
I took prenatal vitamins for when I was pregnant.
I used to take vitamin C a lot to prevent colds in the wintertime.
If you eat properly, and I think the vitamin, it contributes.
3 individuals, 3 different uses for vitamin supplements. Surveys show that about 40% of people take supplements to make sure they're getting proper nutrition. But does that really work?
I would never recommend someone take a supplement until I evaluated their diet and looked at where they are going wrong and see if there is indeed some way to incorporate a better choice nutrition-wise to get the supplement or to get the nutrients from food. I would also not recommend a supplement for people who are on specific medications. They would have to check it out because sometimes there are interactions between nutrients and medications that need to be considered before you would recommend a supplement.
Recent studies link certain vitamins, especially vitamin C, E, and beta-carotene, to reductions in cancer, heart disease, cataracts, and to improvements in the immune system.
The Canadian Cancer Society has in fact recommended that we eat more foods with beta-carotene. So, although you can get beta-carotene from a supplement, you can also get it from food. And if you pursue it from the food route, you're also going to get benefits that you would get from fiber and as well the nutrients that come with that food. So there's really no need to take a beta-carotene supplement so far that the research has shown us, and you can get what you need from the food supply.
The recent studies need confirmation. Nutritionists say supplement takers run the risk of relying on pills for all of their nutritional needs instead of maintaining a healthy diet.
One of the big things that people who take supplements tend to miss out on, in my experience, is fiber. And fiber is one of those things that you just tend not to get enough from pills.
The bottom line is that small amounts of vitamins probably will do no harm, and it remains to be seen whether research will prove that vitamins such as vitamin E help ward off disease. But one thing that all nutritionists agree on: vitamin supplements are no substitute for a proper diet. For Live at 5, I'm Dr. Stuart Cameron.
Thank you, Doctor. You know, they say couples should never work together, and since writers generally write at home, I guess you could qualify Canadian authors Margaret Atwood and Graham Gibson as a couple that works together. However you define them, one thing is certain: you'd have to describe them as a highly successful pair of writers. They've both just published new novels, The Robber Bride and Gentleman Death. Margaret Atwood and Graham Gibson join me now. Do you work together?
We work in the same house.
Oh, but at different ends?
At different levels. It has several floors, and we work on different floors.
So you stay out of each other's way when you're writing?
Oh, absolutely, completely.
On pain of death.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Sounds interesting. We're delighted to have you here. Yes. You're both such well-known authors. Graham, I want to start with you, Margaret, if I may. This is your fourth novel, your fifth book, and it's very highly praised, as most of your books are. A couple of the quotes on the back: you have undeniable poetic gifts, a remarkable feel for place and period. The praise goes on and on. Yet Margaret is so prolific, having written over 30 books. Is there a sense of competition? Is there an awkwardness to that?
No, I don't think writers, fiction writers, I don't think they compete. I think they're stupid if they do. And if I was going to compete with anybody, I wouldn't compete with a woman writer. I'd presume to compete with a tall man. You know, I don't know.
Do you see any sense of competition in your relationship?
I compete with short women. And you know, there aren't very many left of us. Everybody's getting much taller than they used to be.
It hardly seems fair.
Well, we do have this short, curly-headed person running for the leadership. Maybe I should compete with her.
Have you thought about politics, Margaret? You're certainly well-known enough for it.
I'd have to dye my hair blonde.
Okay, here's another question that's sort of relationship-related, I suppose. Margaret, most of the women characters in your books are very impressive. They're very self-possessed, intelligent women. Yet the men don't seem to be so nice. They don't seem to be impressive. In fact, they're often spineless almost. Is that a reflection of reality? Is that the men you see in society?
Well, first of all, the worst person, the worst character that I've ever created morally is in this book, and she's a woman.
Of course.
And the nicest character and the most admirable one in a book of mine called Life Before Man was the male character. I think I depict people as human, but people expect men to be superhuman. Therefore, if you depict them merely as human, which is what they are, ask any one of them and eventually he will tell you. You may have to twist his arm and jump on his head, but he eventually will admit that he's human. If you depict them as human, people think that they're less than they should be. Whereas if you depict women as human, they think that maybe they're a little bit more than they should be.
They think you're making them look like superhumans.
Yeah, but really they're all just human. Or somebody said to me, I don't think you're mean to men. I think you're mean to everybody.
How do you feel about that?
I don't think I'm mean to anybody. I'm just realistic. But if you tell a story from the point of view of a character, then we see life through that character's eyes. And I tend to write, because it's easier for me and I'm lazy, I tend to write from the point of view of women.
Why do you write? Do you write for the same reasons, Graham?
I don't even write for the same reasons each time I write. No, I mean, it is far too complex, it seems to me, to say why one writes. That's the way one lives, the way one sees things. I think the thing about writers is they tend to try and understand the world in words, and the dramatic use of words. And that's certainly one of the reasons I write.
Are you both the exception to the rule, Canadian writers who actually are able to make a living at what you do?
I make a living at what I do and have done since 1972, but I am the exception, and even in the States, it's only 10% of all the people who write. Well, because you would have to write quite a lot and sell quite a lot, and it takes some people a very long time to write a book. So although they may make money on that one book that they write, that doesn't account for the 8 years or so that they may have spent writing it.
The interesting thing is that so many writers who do make money write the trash novels, and you have been able to maintain the quality and yet be in a lucrative profession.
Yeah, but I wrote for 16 years before that happened.
Oh,
you see.
That's one of those 16-year overnight successes.
That's right, yeah, exactly right.
All right, well, the books are wonderful. I read most of both of them, didn't get all the way through either because I wanted to get a good taste of each of them. They're both very delightful novels, really entertaining. And it's been a delight to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I should say that Margaret and Graham will be reading from their latest novels, The Robber Bride and Gentleman Death, respectively tonight at Dalhousie University, Rebecca Cohen at 7:30. Tickets are still available. Margaret, Graham, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Live at 5 returns in just a moment with ATV on your side. Yvonne helps a maritime woman with her delivery dilemma.
What did you expect? Well, I just expected to find some furniture that I liked, to pay it, and then to get some good service from them.
With the speed of light.
Welcome back to the Thursday edition of Live at 5. The sun making itself seen in some
Beautiful
parts of the Maritimes today. Yeah, really lovely. Time for ATV on your side. Yvonne Colbert's now here with us, and tonight it's one woman's wait for her furniture. She just wanted to sit down.
That's right. Lay down is more like it. Now, Nancy Appleby expected to be sleeping on her new bedroom furniture 10 days ago, but it has yet to arrive.
I didn't have to go out and buy other pieces to it. That's what I liked about it.
And Nancy Appleby still likes that aspect of her purchase from Nationwide Furniture in Dartmouth. It's the problem with delivery that's got her upset.
They just keep giving me excuses on why it hasn't been delivered, so I'm not too impressed.
And here's why. Nancy purchased her furniture over a period of months. On August 26, she made her final payment and was told the bedroom suite would arrive September 6th. On September 2nd, she received a call saying her furniture was here. Arrangements were made for delivery on September 4th. On the 4th, Nancy disposed of her old bedroom furniture and stayed home all day, but the furniture never arrived. She was told it would be the following Tuesday or Thursday before it could be delivered. On Thursday, September 9th, she called again to inquire about delivery. She was told it would arrive that evening. At 10 p.m., she received a call saying the delivery truck had broken down and it would be dropped off the next day. When she called September 10th to inquire about delivery, she was unable to get a firm answer, so told Nationwide she'd arrange delivery herself. The next day, she paid a trucker $60 to pick up her furniture. The problem, there were only 4 pieces, not 11. She's received the mattress and box spring as well as 2 night tables. She's still waiting for the rest. In fact, she can't wait. You'd be glad to have a bedroom that looks nice and is together, huh?
Yes, I will be.
So today, we went to Nationwide to find out what is causing the confusion and delay.
Well, I see that you interviewed her down by an area where there are a bunch of park benches. I hope that has nothing to do with her current plight.
No, it doesn't. I went into Nationwide. I spoke to the manager there, Evan Morehouse. Now, he didn't want to go on camera. He acknowledged that there was some confusion with delivering this item. And he did offer to reimburse Nancy for the delivery cost. She had to pay someone else to go and pick up the furniture. And he assured me that her furniture would be at her home within a week. He also referred me on to the district manager who happens to be in Ottawa.
Okay, so what did he have to say?
Well, I called him. His name is Giuseppe Mancini, and he says there's a definite communications problem here of some sort. Now, he checked, and he says that the furniture that Nancy wants, or the remainder of it, is available at the Moncton store. As we speak, it's being loaded onto a truck. It's being transported to Halifax, and he has assured me it's going to be delivered to her door tomorrow evening. So she'll have a good night's sleep tomorrow night.
Eventually, but
That's
boy,
right.
It's a long time to stay awake, isn't it?
It's taken a while.
All right, if you've got anything else you'd like to bring to Yvonne's attention, here's how you go about it.
You can give us a call. The area code is 902. The number is 493-3404. Leave a brief message on the answering machine. Or you can write P.O. Box 1653, Halifax, Nova Scotia, B3J2Z4. And I have to tell you, writing is going to get you a response a lot faster than a phone call. It's to the point now where I can't possibly return all the calls that I get. I try my best, but if you write a letter, I'll be sure and get back to you in one way, shape, or form.
Or a postcard would be nice, too. from a nice place where the beds are comfortable. Back in just a moment. Well, let's go to Nancy first. Nancy.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Yvonne. When we return, you could say it's a sign of the times, but whose times are we talking about? We'll tune in a community controversy in just a moment.
It's a sign that really doesn't bring into consideration our people, and our people lived in this country for 10,000 years, so.
Almost looks like he knows what he's doing. I'm going to get my license.
They were cleaning this window in Prince Edward Island today in Charlottetown when Dan Vio found them on the street. These two guys hard at work.
Yeah. And they fixed up Dan's camera lens while they were at it.
It looked very clean,
one of
didn't
those
it?
small little camera squeegees. And the rest of the day's pictures looked brilliant. Moving right along to, I guess, a picture in time, maybe. It's an issue that's becoming more and more widespread across our region as communities try to move into the future while coming to grips with their past.
Tonight the controversy is in Bedford, where the town council is refusing to change a road sign Native leaders have declared to be racist.
ATV's Jonathan Kay joins us now. Jonathan, this seems to be becoming a common problem in the Maritimes.
It is, Paul, and it's one that in this case the Human Rights Commission of Nova Scotia might get to decide. We're talking to you from here on Gottingen Street in Halifax because behind me is a building that was to be called Cornwallis Court. And the name of the building was changed after Micmac leaders challenged Lord Edward Cornwallis's status, I guess you'd call it, as a hero. This case is much the same.
This is the sign in question. Its date commemorates the first recorded visit of a European to the area that's now Bedford. The leader of mainland Nova Scotia's Micmac people says his ancestors, who were here long before 1503, are ignored. And that's racist.
What do you say to people who say, well, it's just a sign?
I'll put it this way, racist intentions on her part when she found the wording for it, okay? And I accept that. And when I wrote to the town council, I didn't think at that point in time there was any intentional racism. But I think after you point out the fact that a sign has racist connotations, then I think people have to look at it from that point of view.
Dan Paul wrote to Bedford Council to request the sign be changed. But after 3 committees and the town historian recommended against it, the town decided to leave it as is.
The town historian was able to go back to 1503. That was a very significant date in the town's history. And again, I understand that the other settlers were here, the Micmacs and the other persons at the time were here before then. And again, that the date is the effective part. But again, we're not opposed to another look at it to make sure that's what we want to do and that's where we want it to be.
People we talked to shopping in Bedford today say the Micmac have a point.
Native people probably have a point, but I think a little more research maybe might be in order, and maybe that'll solve the problem.
There certainly have been enough things which Aboriginal people have had to put up with, and they have been here for many years. It's probably a major gathering point for them, so yeah, I can understand that.
It's a case, Nancy and Paul, of people living together, officially at least, as equals now, trying to recognize their past when things weren't necessarily that way. The problem is that the people in these communities, they want to be proud of their village or their town and be able to trace it back to the original settlers, but we tend to forget that when those first boats arrived, the Maritimes weren't unpopulated. The Micmac were here first.
Yeah, no question, Jonathan. I mean, history tells us that people have been here for thousands and thousands of years, but I'm sure that there are other people out watching tonight who would say, hey, aren't we just nitpicking a little bit here? I mean, how far can this go? Do you think there's a percentage of the population out there saying that?
Well, there certainly is. I mean, as we mentioned, behind me is the example of the building. Its name was changed. In Bedford, it was a sign. In Annapolis Royal, for example, they had a very similar sign outside town that mentioned that as being the first settlement in Canada. After some negotiation and a little bit of arm twisting, I'm told, that sign was changed to make it more accurate. But the problem is that while trying to please everyone, we're really pleasing no one, because a sign that doesn't specifically mention the Micmac people doesn't bring them to mind any more easily, and the people who sort of want to celebrate the role that these communities played in the founding of the political entity that we now know as Canada, they're not able to do that either.
I would think we do want to be historically accurate. That's an important point. All right. Thank you, Jonathan.
Well, what about just having the sign say, you know, stopping place for white Europeans since 1503? Is that what Chief Paul would want to see?
Well, again, the problem that we get into is that simply leaves out the native people altogether. And what we have to do is come up with some way of making sure that everybody's history gets mentioned and that we remember the contribution that everybody has made to society. That's the difficult point, and there's no easy solution for 4 or 5 words on a road sign.
A sign of the times, past and present. All right, thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome, Paul.
Jonathan Kay reporting live from downtown Halifax. ATV's Thursday night primetime lineup is coming right up.
So is Richard's Friday morning wake-up weather and the weekend watch. Live at 5 returns in just a moment.
Welcome back to Thursday edition of Live at 5. Just, 23 hours away from the Friday edition of Live at 5. We're looking forward to that because they're always fun.
Richard is working hard, but I have to say he's got a sprained ankle, everybody.
Yes,
but he's still doing a great job. Richard, I hope your ankle feels better soon.
Oh, thanks a lot, Nancy and Paul. I'm just hobbling through the weather. It looks like the cold front's going to hobble through the Maritimes as well. What we're looking at for tonight is, I know, we don't want to say it, but things are getting a little cool out there with the cold front. We're calling for a frost warning tonight as the cold front moves through most parts of the Maritime region. Specifically, inland areas are going to be getting temperatures very close to the freezing mark. So, tomorrow morning, lots of sunshine, but it's not going to help the temperature. 48 degrees for the morning temperatures when you get up to drive to either work, school, or wherever you're going in the Maritime regions. Tomorrow, we'll look for a sunny day. Mercury starts to creep upwards. We can expect to see temperatures anywhere between 15, 18, 19 degrees. And, of course, then by the evening, the clouds roll in, and we're going to change those weather patterns. Now, everybody wants to know what's going to happen on the weekend. So we have our patented weekend weather watch, and this is the way it stacks up. We're looking at starting off with some sunshine on Saturday. The clouds roll in. We're looking at showers, 21 degrees, 40% pop. And Sunday, not so good, I'm afraid, but at least the temperatures go up. So if you don't want to get frozen, stay inside tonight. That's it for the weekend watch. Now back to Nancy and Paul.
Now, I told Richard not to try and fix those weather satellites himself. Did he listen? No, and he went and sprained his ankle on us. Anyway, here's our primetime lineup.
Cloud.
Speaking of that, Home Improvement was on last night. The season premiere, great show. It'll be on again next week, of course. Another big night here on ATV with many more season premieres. At 6:30, it's Full House. Murphy Brown at 7. Hanging with Mr. Cooper at 7:30. And then our first season premiere of the night at 8 o'clock. That's Café Americain. And then at 8:30, funny guy, Sinbad. Premiering tonight here on ATV in the heat of the night. Another season premiere, that's at 9. ENG's on at 10, followed by documentary W5 at 11.
Then on the Friday edition of Live at 5, it's one of the premier air shows in North America, attracting thousands from across the Maritimes. The sky's the limit as we take you on the ride of your life. Let's just wing it tomorrow at 5.
Or fly high with Live at 5 tomorrow. That's it for us tonight. See you tomorrow here at 5 o'clock. The news continues now here on ATV with the ATV Evening News at 6. And Steve Murphy. Steve?
Tonight, the shocking death of Giselle Pelsman from the last person who saw her alive.
She was crouched down, a fetal position, and she was saying no, no. What was happening to her? She was being hit.
Reading between the lines, St. Joe's goes.
The Department of Health plans to provide inadequate health care for the people of St. John.
And winners and losers in the fast food family feud.
I think probably what they should do is, you know, if they got any pride, get their act together and get this settled. It's ridiculous.
Now, from the #1 news team in Atlantic Canada, the ATV Evening News.
Good evening. There is startling new evidence tonight in the Giselle Pelsman